From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Across the country today, GOP senators in nearly 24 states were faced with protesters at their offices. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Fingert was at Senator Jeff Flake's office in Phoenix, where protesters were demanding to be let in.
What was originally planned as a sit-in turned out not to be because protesters were never let inside. While they couldn't see the Republican senator, they hoped their message was delivered. Vote no on the upcoming health care bill.
Healthcare is a human right.
Today in Phoenix, protest.
Why have you locked us out today?
Over the bill that could eventually repeal and replace Obamacare.
This was billed as a sit-in, and I think you may see one.
Protesters spent the morning outside Senator Flake's office. One of his staffers came out to talk, but they were never let inside.
Is this why he won't meet with us? He doesn't want to hear the stories face to face?
Cronkite News requested an interview with the senator today, but a request was declined. They instead sent us a statement from Senator Flake, reading in part, "I have not yet seen a revised version of the bill. I can say my decision will be based on how it balances two principles. The first is the legislation needs to ensure that those who currently have coverage do not have the rug pulled out from under them. The second is that the Senate must agree on a solution that is fiscally sustainable."
Well, I think we just should stay here until they open up the door.
Protesters finally had enough. They blocked one of the entrances to the office building.
I'd like you to again ask everybody to leave. I just did that.
After several negotiations with Phoenix police, most of the protesters moved to the sidewalk fearing arrest, but 5 stayed put.
So you're willing to get in handcuffs?
Yeah, we have to do whatever we can.
Just moments after this interview, Suzanne DeStasso and 4 others were arrested and hauled away. Tonight, it's unclear what charges those protesters who were arrested today will face, but these arrests weren't the only ones. At Flake's Tucson office, 2 people were arrested there for trespassing, and one of them is also facing an intimidation charge. We want to note that Flake's office says it wasn't their choice to not let protesters inside. The property manager made that call. In the broadcast center, Tyler Fingert, Cronkite News.
The White House wants states to hand over data from their voter rolls to a special commission that is looking at ways to improve the integrity of U.S. elections. But Arizona, for one, has refused. Cronkite News reporter Emma Lockhart in our Washington bureau tells us why Arizona is having second thoughts and what other states are doing.
Yeah, the request came from an advisory panel that Donald Trump appointed following his claim that there were millions of illegally cast votes in the last election. Now, that claim has been rejected by many officials and experts, but could be to blame for the standoff this week between the panel and states.
Arizona joined numerous states that denied requests for voter registration data from the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. The commission's goal is to ensure voter integrity in federal elections, but state officials say they have to safeguard their own voter rolls too, a reaction that puzzles one member of the White House panel.
I think their reactions are somewhat bizarre, and they obviously don't seem to understand the applicable law that says that they have to make this information available.
But Arizona Secretary of State Michelle Reagan says she won't. In a letter Monday, she said collecting that information could implicate serious privacy concerns shared by many.
This is complete federal overreach, and it truly discredits the hard work of secretaries of states and election officials across our country.
Advocates of the voter data request say they are only asking for public information.
Well, I think it's a basic step that's necessary to do the kind of research into finding out just how accurate our voter registration lists are.
Still, opponents and some states say the request violates state privacy laws. Reagan's letter says that the state is willing to work with the panel to make elections safer, but that handing over the data would not be in the best interest of the state.
We checked with the National Association of Secretaries of State that said as of today, there are still a handful of states still considering the request, but a total of 44 states, including Arizona, are still saying they will not provide all data. Live in Washington, Emma Lockhart, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News also reached out to Maricopa County Recorder Adrian Fontes. He says he hasn't received any requests from the commission yet, but if it allowed under Arizona statutes, he will comply.
I did see the request that was refused by the Secretary of State. And the problem that I have with that request is that it indicates that whatever information they're going to get, they'd be disseminated widely. And that's exactly against Arizona law. You know, there are groups like research groups, advocacy groups, political parties, and other folks who get this information. Only the information that's available through public records, of course, not a lot of sensitive identifying information. And they use it for research purposes or within political campaigns.
Information provided included whether a person voted in a particular election, but not the details of who he or she voted for.
We're seeing video from both a citizen and the officers involved in a case of alleged police brutality. An African-American man arrested by Mesa police says he was beaten by officers after jaywalking. A rally demanding an independent investigation and calling for acts of civil disobedience is set to take place tonight. Cronkite News reporter Patricio Espinosa has been following the story and has the video.
It was late in the evening, about 10 p.m., Jason Barton says, here at the corner of Main and Extension. He had already crossed the street, he alleges. Then he noticed the two police officers approaching. What happened next was caught on camera. This is a citizen video which has now triggered an investigation and is confirmed by Mesa Police. Two officers using force to detain and arrest Jason Michael Barton.
Why are you running? Don't try to destroy it.
But now, the Mesa Police Department has released their own video, that of police officers' body cams taken during the arrest.
I'm okay.
Stop moving your leg.
Here.
Stop moving. Stop moving. No, we're not. You're fine. Just quit moving.
One side claims racism. The other says a standard police procedure.
While they're attacking me, one's pulling, as you can see the scars, one's pulling my hand this way, and one's pulling my hands this way, saying I'm resisting arrest.
He was kicked so hard in the back that he urinated on himself.
Today, Mesa Police reacted.
In this case, we have presented all of the videos from all of the officers who were initially there and those that arrived after the fact. Just as important as that citizen's cell phone video is, the officer's video is very important as well.
Mesa PD says they also have a taped interview with the suspect, where Barton admits that he ran because he had marijuana and a pending warrant for his arrest.
The fact of the matter that this gentleman says on tape, on camera, why he ran. But he makes claims that he was just stopped and beat up.
Mesa Police says the officers involved are still working their regular patrols. No formal complaints have been made. In Mesa, Patricio Espinosa, Cronkite News.
Barton faces charges including resisting arrest and marijuana possession. The rally begins tonight at 7 p.m. outside Mesa Police headquarters.
The American Red Cross is facing a blood shortage across the country and is issuing an emergency call for donations. Cronkite News reporter Holly Bernstein went to a blood donation location to find out the reason behind the shortage.
The Red Cross says blood donations have fallen short for the past 2 months. This means there are about 61,000 fewer donations than needed here in the U.S.
You never know when someone's going to need something.
Angela Charles is a regular blood donor who has been donating blood for over 30 years. She says she needed transfusions when she was born, and her siblings have had operations as well. She says the biggest impact donating blood can have is saving lives.
I know if I was in that situation, I'd want someone to help me.
The Red Cross says blood donations are being distributed to hospitals faster than donations are coming in. Rita Javicki, who is an account manager with Red Cross, says there's an urgent need for blood right now because donors are traveling and on summer vacation.
So the last one that we had was during the holidays, during the winter, and right now because of the 4th of July weekend and people traveling for the summer months.
According to Welch, the Red Cross must collect nearly 14,000 blood donations every day for patients at approximately 2,600 hospitals across the country. The Red Cross has added more than 25,000 additional appointment slots at donation centers throughout the United States. Charles says she would encourage others to donate blood.
Just think about your family, you know? Would you want to have blood ready for them if something happened?
Every 2 seconds in the United States, blood is needed to respond to patient emergencies. If you want to donate blood, you can visit redcrossblood.org to see the list of 40 blood drives being held all around Arizona. Holly Bernstein, Cronkite News.
Here in the Valley, we're used to extreme heat this time of year. Common sense tells us to stay cool and drink plenty of water, but as Cronkite News reporter Tyler Paley found out, there's a more direct approach to staying hydrated this summer.
Believe it or not, it's a concept that's been around for 6 decades.
Vitamin therapy itself has actually been around since the late 50s.
IV hydration therapy is one way to beat the heat this summer. It's unconventional, but it sends vitamins and nutrients directly to your bloodstream.
Helps you think better, sleep better, feel better, look better. It's got skin benefits. So there's really a variety of things people come in for.
Most of our clients either use us for optimal health and wellness, for beauty, for exercise prep and recovery.
It's a process that takes about 20 to 30 minutes. Registered nurses administer the IV while customers relax and get rehydrated.
It's 100% bioavailable, meaning your body absorbs it right away and 100% of what's being put in. Versus when we eat or drink anything orally, a lot of it's broken down in the digestive tract.
Many times people won't realize they're dehydrated because they sweat less in the dry Arizona heat. But Kelly says it's important that people understand their bodies are still losing nutrients.
What I think some people are less aware of is kind of that dehydration at that cellular level, and they might not recognize the signs and symptoms of that as being dehydration.
Customers say it takes no time at all to feel the effects. Take it from Brent Burge, a Valley native and an IV hydrator for the last 10 years.
You can feel in 5 or 10 minutes, once the drip starts, your eyes start to open up, you become more aware. You find a smile back on your face.
And of course, the experts say keep that H2O close by.
We always want to drink water. Our body, our brain is, high parts water, so of course it's not a substitute.
Both businesses offer a concierge service as well, so customers can get IV hydration therapy from the comfort of their own home or office. In Scottsdale, Tyler Paley, Cronkite News.
Treatments range from about $100 to $200. According to Columbia School of Medicine, there are risks with getting an IV. Infections can occur, and more serious complications like a blood clot and inflammation of the vein can also occur.
So imagine trying to get good grades, make friends, and even get into college when you don't even have a place to call your own. That's the reality for the nearly 30,000 homeless students in our state, according to the Arizona Department of Education. But as I found out today, there's one group of people who are homeless by definition, but are pushing forward in times of despair. They hide in plain sight, carrying on with their daily lives just like you and me. But make no mistake about it, their lives are far from ordinary.
It's awful. It brings so many awful things to an individual's mind, and it affects them way more ways than just a physical state.
That's where Homeless Youth Connection steps in. It's a nonprofit Valley organization that looks to take a proactive approach in preventing teen homelessness. But it even goes a step further.
We ensure that they have the resources they need to complete their education and graduate.
And in order to do so, HYC partners with local and national businesses like Allstate. The insurance provider donated $25,000 to the nonprofit, a sum that doesn't go unnoticed.
It's going to provide emergency housing for 25 kids.
If we take care of a youth at a young age, and then when they grow up, they'll be great adults, contributing members to our society.
And for Whit, that helping hand, which wasn't always around, means the world.
To think how much it helped me in the past, I'm ecstatic to how much it can help other people now.
Bogart says there are about 6,000 homeless teens from grades 9 through 12 in Maricopa County alone.
These kids are invisible. They really do not want to be in the system. They would much rather prefer to hide on somebody's sofa or in the park.
But Whit refuses to hide anywhere. Invisibility just isn't part of his plans.
I should be getting my EMT by this December, and later doing some fire science courses, stuff like that, trying to get into paramedic and then eventually firefighting field.
Whit is enrolled in community college classes this fall, and Bogart says HYC hopes to expand to a national nonprofit in the next 2 years. If you want to help, visit hycaz.org.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong, do you believe it?
The National Council of La Raza is returning to its roots here in Arizona on its 49th anniversary. Cronkite News reporter Lilia Calvillo looked deeper into the history of what has become the largest Latino-led organization in the country.
The NCLR conference will take place this Saturday, July 8th through the 11th. 7 years ago, they joined a boycott because, quote, the amount of prejudice and harassment our Latino community was under, end quote. But now they are ready to return to Arizona and bring with them Latino leaders from across the country. Fighting segregation of Latinos and defending the rights of farm workers were some of the reasons that led to the establishment of the Southwest Council of La Raza in 1968 in Phoenix. Almost half a century later, they have presence in Washington, D.C., and are known as the National Council of La Raza. They advocate for immigration reform and Latino voter mobilization.
The biggest kind of area of focus for the NCLR is to make sure that we're defending the rights of Latinos, protecting the rights of Latinos, but also advancing the rights of Latinos across the country.
In 2010, NCLR joined nearly 50 civil rights organizations in an economic boycott to protest SB 1070, a state law that expanded police powers to check a person's immigration status. Arizona lost almost $490 million in tax revenues and earnings due to the cancellation of conventions on the first 7 months since SB 1070 was signed into law, according to a report from the Center of American Progress. A year later, they ended the boycott, drawing criticism.
NCLR was not the one that called a boycott. They were the first one to call it off, but with no consent. And at the same time, we continue with the boycott. We still say it's a boycott against Arizona. Why? Because things haven't changed.
Now, NCLR Governing Board member Luis Avila said they are ready to come back to continue their work.
So I think this is an opportunity to celebrate Arizona, but also to share best practices from Arizona with other places in the country that are now having to go through, unfortunately, the same fight that we went through in 2010.
Petra Falcon, the executive director of Promise Arizona, an affiliate of NCLR, is among the ones being recognized.
About really building up the leadership and letting our young people know that we were all young once and that we are looking forward that our youth today are going to be the leaders, not only at this moment, but also of taking shape of what really needs to happen to correct the things that are still hurting people.
The convention will feature a family expo and healthcare town hall where the discussion of protecting and defending healthcare will be addressed. In the broadcast center, Lilia Calvillo, Cronkite News.
Last night, the public had a chance to pay respect to former ASU football coach Frank Kush at a public viewing in Tempe. ASU Cronkite News reporter Kelly Broderick tells us the 88-year-old coach had a major impact on the community around him.
Frank Kush coached Sun Devil football for more than 22 years, and in all that time, he only had one losing season. He had 176 wins, the most of any coach in program history. While Wednesday's viewing was a sad one, Kush's son Danny was happy to be around all the friendly faces of his father's former players.
Somebody asked me earlier, he goes, well, Dan, you seem pretty up. I said, well, there's a lot of energy in the room. There's a lot of people that have great memories of my dad.
Mike Haynes, who played for Frank Kush from 1972 to 1975, went on to a Hall of Fame NFL career and said he believes that while most players may have disliked Kush's strong demeanor during their time as Sun Devils, they knew everything he did was for their success and growth as men. For many players, Kush was more than just a coach. He meant everything to them, from a friend and a mentor to a father figure.
He loved us. He loved football. He had a lot of respect for other coaches and other players. He loved Arizona State. I love Frank Kush, and I don't think anybody that played for him for 4 years would walk away saying anything different.
But you know what's interesting? Not one of them said, hey, Coach, so glad you helped me be a better offensive guard or a better wide receiver. But all of them are saying things like, thank you for being a great leader. Thank you for being a great coach. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for following through. Thank you for telling us how to be tough and strong. Thank you for showing us how to be men. All of those character qualities, right?
Kush not only impacted the lives of many players and fans across the country, but also helped shape ASU from a college of less than 10,000 students to one of the largest universities in the country. In Tempe, Kelly Broderick, Cronkite News.
Governor Doug Ducey proclaimed July 5th as Frank Kush Day. Ducey says, quote, Coach Cush was instrumental in transforming ASU into what we know it to be today. Remembering loved ones who have passed can be challenging, and across the world, social media has changed the way we grieve and remember the dead. In the latest episode of our podcast, In Focus, we discuss memorialization in the 21st century. For this conversation and more audio storytelling, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org/podcast. Games that last more than 3 hours are a complaint for some baseball fans. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said he wants to work with the teams and players to speed up the game. But Cronkite News reporter Kyle Wilcox spoke with some Diamondbacks players who aren't too excited with the idea.
Diamondbacks manager Torey Lovello is not a fan of efforts to speed up games.
Sometimes the game frustrates me a little bit because they're always in such a hurry to get through different things, and I don't like to be rushed. I don't know what more can be done, to tell you the truth. Maybe shorten commercials, the time in between innings.
Some ideas that have been discussed to improve the pace of play include a pitch clock and an electronic strike zone. In 2015, a 20-second pitch clock was implemented in Double and AAA. This allows the pitcher 20 seconds to deliver the pitch before the umpire can penalize with an automatic ball. D-backs reliever Archie Bradley pitched with the clock during a pilot program in the Arizona Fall League in 2014.
I mean, I understand it. I don't know if it'd necessarily fly here in the big leagues, but if it did, we'd find a way to make it work.
So far this season, the average time of a 9-inning game has reached an all-time high at 3 hours and 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes more than last season. However, first baseman Paul Goldschmidt thinks the MLB should be cautious with speeding up the game.
You can speed it up, and if the quality is worse, which I think is definitely a fear, if you speed it up too much, then you're going to lose fans. I know we want to draw fans in, but I think the more important thing needs to be the quality of the play.
Increasing the game speed may cut down on some time here and there, but outfielder David Peralta doesn't think it will affect much.
I don't really mind whatever they're going to do, but because, I mean, it's still going to be the same baseball. They want to change a little bit as their decision, but the game is going to take a little bit.
Major League Baseball has the power to unilaterally make changes if an agreement is not reached with the union, but needs to wait until the end of the following season. In Phoenix, Kyle Wilcox, Cronkite News.
The 4th of July is known for backyard barbecues and fireworks, but it's a tough time for our pets, with hundreds in Arizona running away from home because of fireworks. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Fingert spent the day at 2 Valley animal shelters, where they're expecting more dogs to walk through their doors.
It's something the Arizona Humane Society and Maricopa County Animal Care and Control see every year. Dogs running away from home, all because of fireworks on the 4th of July and New Year's. This year was the same. As fireworks exploded in the night sky, the search for dogs who ran away began.
It means everything to her. I feel awful. So hopefully we can find them.
For Laura Schiffmacher and her son Ryan, this 4th of July was heartbreaking.
He just ripped his leash right out of my hand and took off in the canal, and he was gone so fast we just couldn't even see which way he went.
The 1-year-old dog named Spooky got spooked. For the Arizona Humane Society, the holiday weekend proved busy as a lot of dogs ran away.
The Arizona Humane Society's emergency animal medical technicians spent yesterday rounding up stray pets who were frightened by the fireworks. Today will also be a busy day.
This guy here is one of 1,000 dogs and cats here at the Maricopa County Animal Care and Control Shelter. Today they expect to get even more.
We are currently full. Our kennels, we opened this morning with no empty kennels essentially. So staff has been in the process of trying to pair up dogs.
Back with the Schiffmacher family after spending all night searching, they finally found him.
I looked at him and he looked at me and he started pulling, and I ran over and just started crying and hugged the guy who brought him in.
The now reunited dog is heading home, but the family has one important message. They say bringing found and stray dogs to the county shelter is important, so owners like them can search in one centralized location. Tyler Fingert, Cronkite News.
If you've ever felt guilty about leaving your pet at home for a workout, Doga might be just what you're looking for. Cronkite News reporter Andrea Boyd tells us about the new popular practice.
And I tried all kinds of healing, and it wasn't until I got on the mat with my dogs that my life started to come back together. it was so healing for me. I came back to life.
Amy Hyatt is one of a growing number of devotees to yoga with dogs, or DOGA, which originated in 2001 with founder and creator Susie Teitelman. She developed the first DOGA studio in New York City. Now it has spread and is especially popular in places like Phoenix and Los Angeles.
I was doing yoga and I was going to class every day. And I just, in the back of my mind, just was thinking, I want my dogs. Why can't my dogs be in class with me?
Hyatt is a popular DOGA instructor and a passionate believer in its healing powers.
Being in these environments, I just slowly, I gradually started to heal. And I never wanted it to stop. Yes, I do a practice without them, but it's better with. It's more healing.
I always tell my friends about this who have dogs of any age, size, breed, whatever, to come and try this because it's just such a great experience to do something with your dog that is both beneficial to you and your dog at the same time.
I'm not looking to do the next, gimmick. Oh, let's do DOGA and, go wild. I don't care if you can do yoga or not, but everybody can stretch a little. Everybody can breathe and touch. That's what DOGA is for me.
In Los Angeles, Andrea Boyd, Cronkite News.